king said that it's a means of payment. Money also has other functions. In addition to being a medium of exchange, now we don't have to worry about the relative price of grapes of certain kind to wheats of certain kind. They all have a price in terms of that's money. That's it. That's all you need to know. What's another use for money? Other function of money? It's a medium of exchange, so you can make payments with money. Yes. Yeah, it's a store of value. Okay. A gold coin survived until now from Lydian times. In fact, you may even find a picture of those. Here are some examples. They had stuff on them. Not always they had some picture of the king, but something like that. So that everybody would recognize it. Just like we recognize a quarter when we see one. And over time, basically, every different country had some sort of gold coinage. Even relatively modern times, let's go to year 1500. The Venetians had a gold coins. It's called the ducat. Okay, and the Ottomans had a gold coin. The French had a gold coin. Spanish had a gold coin or silver coin, regardless. And in order to figure out how much Ottoman coins you could buy with the Venetian coin, all you had to figure out was the gold content and silver content. If the Venetian coin had twice the gold content of the Ottoman coin, you should expect roughly an exchange rate of 2-to-1. But sometimes it also meant stability of the country mattered. For example, in the middle of the 16th century, Ottoman coins were a lot more reliable compared to Venetian, because by 1550 or so, Ottomans were the only superpower in Europe. Okay? There wasn't much going on in Americas. They almost knew nothing about the Asian continent. But if people actually preferred being paid in Ottoman coins rather than the Venetian coins, because every once in a while, these countries decided that they're going to devalue their currency. They don't have enough gold, so they reduce the gold content or silver content, depending upon the metal they use. That creates inflation. But by the time it creates inflation, you actually spend less money. In fact, there is an official name for that. It's called the seigniorage. Seigneurs made money off of you by devaluing the currency. Ottomans were very rich. They never needed that. But, Venetians, depending upon the nature of their trade or wars they may have, so there was more reliance. That was kind of the first, we had the same time things in Roman times. A Roman coin was the thing. You may have had Persian coins, but if you ask anybody during the height of the Roman Empire, do you prefer a Roman coin versus a Persian coin? They will all say Roman coin. So the credibility of government always plays a role. That's why I still call them fiat money, because it has value simply because somebody says it has value. or people believe it has value. Now, having gold currency also created, or metal currency created issues. If you wanted to make a payment, you had to carry the gold. So suppose, you imported some silk from India. Okay? The ships went to India, brought the silk in, or China for that matter, and you had to pay them in gold. Well, you had to take the gold and pay them there. What's the biggest risk those days of carrying that? In this case, pirates. In fact, it was a very common thing. Even at the height of the Romans, it was very common. One of the first experiences of Julius Caesar, he gets into the Roman army as kind of a young guy. Even though he was of nobility, his parents were poor because they were deprived of their wealth. And there was a coup by a guy named Sulla. They picked the wrong side, so they lost all their wealth, even though they were very noble. The Julii. They were basically two major noble families, the Julii and the Junii. Marcus Junius Brutus, for example. And he becomes a soldier, but he's also noble. Their ships are attacked by pirates, so he's taken hostage. And he says, how much are you going to ask for me? They say, I don't remember the number now. They say, 1,000 ducats. He said, if I were you, I would get about 5,000. Anyway, the ransom is paid. 5 years later, he is more powerful. He finds these pirates. He burns them to death. Just because you were a Roman soldier, even Roman soldiers were not free of the threat from pirates. So it's not practical. What do you think that made that easier? Credit, yes, and in general, banking system. Okay, credit was the issue among the Jewish merchants, partly because even before Jesus, they were in a diaspora, because the Jews had two diaspora or two exoduses. The first one was around 500 BC or so. They were kicked out of Mesopotamia. That meant they went all over the world. And the second, after around before year 100 or so, the Romans kicked them out of the what is nowadays Palestine. But, the Jewish people, they actually trade with each other, and reputation is everything. And if you're a Jewish merchant and you didn't pay your debt to another Jewish merchant, you basically were completely kicked out of the system. You could never trade with any other Jewish merchant. So credit was one thing. The trouble is, if you weren't Jewish, what were you going to do? Because they had some societal bond that made that possible. That kind of changed in around 13th, 14th centuries. What do you think happened in 13th and 14th centuries? In a place called Florence, what is nowadays Italy. Banking. So banks started. Okay? Among them, the Medici family. Okay? The banking was simple. You deposited your wealth to me and the bank, and you traded with a merchant in London, and you didn't have to take any gold with you because I have an agent who works in London, and all you have to say is take a note from the Florence branch to the London branch, and say, please pay this person this many gold coins in this. That's it. That was banking, which is nowadays called a letter of credit. Okay? So banking made all that possible. Even that kind of created issues. So people actually started using paper currency. Paper currency is not in modern economies. They kind of started around late 18th century, 19th century, but it goes back all the way to the Khan dynasty, the dynasty of the Kublai Khan in China. After the Mongols conquered China, they actually started paper currency. That meant if you had that paper currency, just like a gold coin, you took it to a merchant and that merchant had to accept it. Especially if you knew anything about Mongols, you never dared not to accept that as a means of payment. Because they were very vindictive people. One day, Genghis Khan tells one of his grandsons to go conquer a city. He goes there, they surround the city, or they lay a siege, and they ask them to, surrender. If you surrender, nobody's going to be harmed. The city doesn't surrender. And, they send a lot of arrows from the walls. Genghis Khan's grandson gets killed. He gets angry. He collects his own army, comes, conquers the city. He kills, I think, about 95% of the population, including dogs. So these people were very vindictive people.